record. The next deck, another Japanese air focus deck, but this time we're pairing it with the British ally. So this is a more, I guess you could argue, traditional air deck. It's not all in aggressive like the close air support style decks. This is a more of a mid-range list. Yeah, so we're looking to we're Japan main, but we're putting in the British cards that we need to fill in our kind of air unit core. So swordfishes, albacores. We have the finest hour, one of the best like reasons to be playing air units in the game, in my opinion. We got a 1 of hurricane here to deal burst damage potentially. Like hurricane plus finest hour is 10 damage out of for 9 resources, which is very good. And yeah, I don't know if there's much more to say about that. We're kind of doing no, we're not really doing a similar thing as the last deck. We have some similar cards, but we're definitely more of a mid-range kind of, we're a little bit more of a fair game plan here. So this deck, I think I'm pretty much playing the list as is. I think I might have made some small tweaks based on, yeah, like I think our opponent, or the person who submitted this, had 1 of Seiran and 1 of the fighter that does the same effect, so I just like put in the 2 Seirans. I think they're just better overall for when you want that kind of effect. I don't know, not much more to say about it, I don't think. So let me update the deck list and we'll jump right into it. Multi-language keyboard. Alright, we finally found an opponent. This is kind of more for closing games out, so I think I'll put that away. Same with this. Maybe this is okay. This was a card I'm not 100% certain of, but I decided to... I didn't want to change the user's deck too much, so I kept this in. We might not have enough orders that benefit from this effectively enough. With none in hand, I think we just toss this back. Welcome, welcome. Welcome back, Over Commandant. Welcome, Blue. Oh yeah, resistance. That's one of my favorites. I'd actually just toss both of these. I don't know how good these are. Blue, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by and giving me your support. What do we want to play? British Resistance. Guys, do we just concede and move on to a more interesting match? I don't care about my rank, so I don't know that I'm interested in playing against Resistance anymore. It's just like... It's just such a miserable deck. All right. I'm not gonna waste your time and mine playing such a miserable matchup. I don't care about my ladder rank, and I have my Japanese nation to field marshal already, so if I cared about the wins, I'd try, but it's just not a fun win or lose. That's just a miserable deck to play against. And on top of everything else, it's also just incredibly slow, the animations, waiting for the resistance card to enter your hand, and then you losing the card off the top of your deck. It's just like, oh, everything about it is miserable. I don't know. Sure, I guess we do this. I mean, we could be playing an anti-resistance deck and I still wouldn't want to play against resistance. It's a boring mechanic. Hey, Servillo, welcome. We just started this third deck of the day. Yours is up next after this. And I think yours is going to be the perfect one to end the stream with, right? Because it's a little bit more aggressively slanted. We've been playing more controlling decks and more mid-rangey decks, so it'll be nice to play something that I presume is a very aggressive. I could be wrong, I suppose. Nice. Okay, cool. That's a carpet bombing, okay. How much do I care about this one bomber? Probably not a whole lot. Yeah, I believe you. It's an archetype that I remember playing and enjoying when Allegiance first dropped. Unfortunately, we could go Seiran, Tora. Unfortunately, that doesn't kill his stuff. Suppose we could just pin all of his things, but it seems a bit pointless because we have carpet bombing the following turn. But maybe we should just use our resources and save ourselves some health, just in case. He could be playing, you know, the Alliance. Could be like a more mid-rangey German unit. Whoa, what's going on there? Okay. think this is the best this carpet bombing is gonna get. He's got a lot of resources. If he has like some blitz units in hand, plus like a blitzkrieg, this could be nasty. Well, that's unfortunate, because now that means he gets to eat our planes for several turns. We could actually just play an attack with this next turn. But depending on what he does, we might just hold it in hand and let it drop at the beginning of our next turn. We have that now. 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. I guess that's what we do, because then he can't... Well, either way, he's hitting our HQ. This way we get the damage in now, and then next turn we can attack with it again if he doesn't feel like trading with it. Golden Tony over here. He's gonna go the distance. Hopefully. Our opponent's deciding how they want to approach this. What they should be doing. It can be a tough thing to, like, think about trading away your Comet. Might actually just play this out too. He could Leo us, but that's not really that big of a deal. This deals 8 damage to him next turn. And then this plus this would kill him. If he doesn't remove this from the board, then... okay. Well, with that in mind, I'm just going to do this. We get in trouble if he has guard unit now, I guess. Okay, he could have from the deep here. I think we go for it. I can't remember what he's playing. He could be playing Japanese ally, that's why I mentioned it. I don't even think we saw ally cards from him, and if we did, I forget. Between talking with chat and like checking other things on my streaming software and playing the game. I don't remember if we saw his ally. I don't think so. I remember him playing like things like Nebelwerfers and Stug 3s and stuff in the early game, and then we swept the board, and then he just kept playing Comets most of his for the rest of the game. Yeah, I don't think we ever saw his ally. It could be mono German mid range, yeah. I think I want a cheap plane. I think I like the carpet bombing as insurance policy. Maybe this is not keepable. Just kind of want to find cheap planes. Oh, Uber, how could you? You're playing a discard deck? Well, our hand ended up being pretty clunky. Maybe I was supposed to be more aggressive in my mulligans? I'm not sure. I'm actually fine with that first hit. What was it? He got rid of that guard? Yeah, that's fine. Works for me. Burst of Fire is fighters only. Which is why it's an interesting inclusion in this list. I guess the user figured it's good because they have a lot of big their top end is all fighters. Yeah, I know. We do have Empire of the Sun in this deck, which would be very useful. What are the chances of this hitting? Well, it's 50-50. Actually, it's less. 33%. But it would be funny. Or am I just supposed to bomb that? I think we go for it. Oop. Yeah, rando discard. Not a fan. GG's anyway, Ober. Well, you could also just not play German discard though, right? That is an option you have. I mean, this is the meta that they wanted to create, right? They gutted the premier aggro deck in the format. The only thing that stood a chance against the greedy ramp decks and that kept decks like discard and resistance in check, and then they didn't make up for it by giving aggro strategies other tools to be able to punish what these opponents were doing effectively. So obviously people are going to be playing resistance and discard as a way to combat the ramp strategies. And now here's where we are. Because this format's so slow, because we don't have a decent aggro deck, those decks are gonna be it's those decks versus the ramp decks primarily, and aggro and mid range is left to suffer. It's like, yeah, degenerate control strategies versus versus degenerate ramp. It's basically all degenerate, really. Like, ramp is by its nature a degenerate mechanic, and when it's like the best thing you can be doing in a format, it like really, it just feels really bad. So then you have to combat it with other degenerate mechanics like random discard and draw denial. And like, to be clear, I am all for a slower format. I definitely think the German US aggro deck needed a bit of a hit for sure, but then like we needed to lower the power level of other cards as well, of other strategies as well, and that didn't happen. And so this is where things stand. Hopefully for not too much longer. You could argue that it was hit too hard, but the main thing was that it was hit and nothing else was hit as well. Definitely think we're just supposed to keep applying pressure here for sure. Yeah, but the 1 HP that thing provided was obnoxious. Like, that nerf was good, but you needed to We needed other things to do. Aggro needed other tools to be able to stay competitive. Because it was as it was, that aggro deck was barely able to get under the ramp decks. And then when you take away their primary, when you lower their power level as much as you did, then it's like gonna be really hard to get through. I think I'm gonna actually do this too, because then this just gets finished off by a 0. He can't run this into here and then Awoken Giant this. So this represents a real threat that could be tough for him, for his deck to deal with. Avenger can't hit it. B17 only has a 50% chance. I guess I'll do this because this kills him if he doesn't have any healing or a Jasko. Well then. Looky who has healing. Cheater. Healing is cheating. Air defense? Yeah, I mean, it was obvious. He moved this up, didn't attack with it, held up 2 resources, so... GG's. Yeah, that's the other big thing. I don't like that they killed tokens with some of the changes they made, and then they didn't give tokens adequate tools to stay competitive. They're playing Commandos. This could be okay, I guess. Do I keep this? This is such a weird hand to keep. There's no way I can keep this, right? If they're playing Commandos, I really would wish... But they can get out of range of this anyway. Maybe I keep this. I don't know. Or even just to light infantry. I mean, they have tokens, I guess, has that plane, that tomahawk that gives infantry you deploy +1/+1. But it's just nothing compared to the 109th engineers, because it's a 3-drop and it's not an infantry, so it doesn't synergize with your United We Stand, or whatever they're called. Stand United? Unity in Strength. I always call that thing United We Stand. Unity in Strength. It doesn't synergize with that like the 109th did. Yeah. Blam. I always want to call it United We Stand, or whatever else, whatever the other thing I said was. Okay, I'm gonna go naval operation and then look to zero this thing the following turn. I think I like this for pressure. I believe you. I have no idea what the weapon sounds like. I'm assuming you're basing that statement off of other war games you've played, and presumably those other war games have done their research on the sound effects. As long as he doesn't buff that, I don't care. Because I wouldn't know. God damn it! Is our opponent ghosting? I'm sure. I'm kidding. I don't think they're ghosting. They're just getting the draws they need. That's all. No big deal. So have you actually been to those air shows, or did you have you watched video recordings of them? I think I play the zero down because if it lives, it'll be a pretty good burst of fire hit with burst of fire target, and then like that plus this and these could get us in range for this Tony to just like finish him off at some point, maybe. I'm sure this is the turn he's gonna sweep us though, so yeah. But at least we keep our two most important units. And there's an air superiority, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay, we can do everything that I would want to do. Neat. Yep. Our opponent's probably just gonna draw too many cards. How many have we killed 2 of his 3 honeys this game? I think we have. I don't think we're gonna beat the 3rd one. Hopefully he drew a burst of fire off of the top of our deck. Something awful. Jeez, opponent. You must hate aggro. Our opponent's been hurt by aggro one too many times. Well, I also know that they're most likely a they're playing Rule Britannia, so alright, I'm sure we're dead. We're not gonna sit here watching our opponent play with themselves. I'm pretty sure that's against the Twitch TOS anyway, so since we're not likely to win that game, let's just move on to the next. Damn it, Auber, get out of here. Get out of here with your discard. I don't even know if what kind of hand I should keep, because I don't want to play this match. Can you play the... There we go. Yeah, is nobody else playing cards today? What's going on? Could be worse, I guess. That guard is really protecting the HQ. I think I'll keep this low quality card in hand for the chances that it gets discarded by something. Oh, come on. He's hitting... He just hit the, what, 1 in 5 best card in my hand? Dirty, lucky discard players, I tell you. Those dirty, dirty discard players. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care about that. End my turn. It's fine, guys. He discarded the best card from my hand anyway, so that this thing didn't do anything. Takasagi didn't do much. Ooh, here we go. Can I get the other thing I need, though, is the question. Now he's gonna play Leo. Boo. I'm gonna go out with style. Good point. I don't know. It didn't matter anyway because he had the guard unit that we couldn't get through. It's like the funny thing about the discard strategies that they're so close to being terrible, but then they always hit like the one key card you need in the matchup, and then they eventually snowball with like one card. I really hope they get rid of the random discard effects. The cards are already a tad too efficient for my taste anyway. And then the fact that they just like hit random things in your hand just makes them really frustrating. Just removes player agency, removes meaningful decisions from the game. I could keep a card in hand with the hopes of like saving it for a particular point in the match, and then it just gets discarded randomly. It's very, very, very frustrating and not very fun. There's no I don't know if there's any. I don't know if it's that simple. I don't know if it's that simple. Getting random things discarded from your hand is always going to feel bad. It doesn't matter how you limit it. I probably should take that thing off the table before it gets too big, huh? Do this. Of course it's weak, but it's a crappy it's a crappy feel bad mechanic, so why should it be strong? We're probably just gonna get swept next turn anyway, but if not, this is like our best chance of getting under what this Commandos deck is doing. It's not the same thing, MJ Servillo. There's nuance there. Having options taken away from your hand is vastly different than an enemy healing things. It's like a more apt comparison is, let's look at healing versus stalling. Both could be just as effective against aggressive strategies, but which one feels worse? When your opponent's healing against your aggressive strategy, or when they're stalling your units? It's when they're stalling your units. I'd much rather my opponent's healing, because I get to still use my units and play the game, so it doesn't feel as bad. Fortification could heal 14 when it gets played, and it wouldn't feel as bad as getting hit by naval operation. Obviously, that's an extreme example, but I understand it's subjective, but if the majority of the player base is not having fun with a mechanic, it should probably be changed. Like, I'm pretty sure the majority of the player base does not like resistance, but yet here we are playing with resistance 9 months later still with no changes. Maybe I'm wrong about that. It seems to, like I've heard far more people want the removal or change of resistance than I've heard people defending it. I'm not saying that there's nobody defending resistance. I'm saying that there's far less of them, or for some reason they're a very quiet majority for some reason on the topic. I think resistance is worse than discard. I would agree. I still think discard is bad though too. And I would personally like to see both go. Well, Bubbles is, I mean, that's great for him. I don't want to take away someone's fun toys, but it's making my experience miserable. So unless the devs want to add user generated like custom formats where we can do our own like banning, like that would be pretty sweet. That's kind of my problem with it, Kalen. They don't let you play the game. Like, this is a card game. I want to be able to draw cards. I want to be able to play cards from my hand. No, I don't think that's true. I think most people who play Resistance and Discard genuinely enjoy playing it. Or they feel that it's competitively viable and they want to win, and that's their prerogative. They're allowed to play those things for those reasons. It's not up to the player base to like balance the format. It's up to the devs. So we can only voice our opinions and our frustrations and our desires as much as we can. It's up to them to satisfy them. But like I said, maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe I'm actually in the minority and most people enjoy Resistance and Discard. And if that's the case, then they should definitely keep those mechanics in. But I'm always gonna talk about my personal preferences, and I would prefer those cards are gone. Or the mechanics are changed. This is not that great right now, yeah? I guess I could play it. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to this game. We're talking about we're talking about resistance and discard and why it should or shouldn't be changed. Exactly, Kalen. Kalen hit the nail on the head. The game, it doesn't feel like two armies fighting. There's like a thematic disconnect between what some of the best decks in this game are doing and what this game advertises itself to be, which is like this fusion of a card game and a war game. I don't feel like I'm playing a game where two armies are fighting each other. Most of the time. The games where there's actually some interesting back and forth between units on the board, vying for control of the front line, trying to eke out all like, trying to be as efficient as possible with the way you attack with your units and trade into theirs and getting all these like small edges against their stuff. Those are some of the best games that Cards has to offer. The problem is, those games are few and far between lately, it seems. I play each deck around an hour. Yeah, we have about 10 more minutes for this one, and then we're moving on to your Japan Italy deck. I guess I'm a little bit behind schedule because it's 2 o'clock, so I should be on your deck soon, but a little bit behind. But yeah, again, that's all personal preference. I would prefer games where it was more about the units on the battlefield and the back and forth rather than like big orders and like draw denial and discard and this and that and ramping all the time. But it's personal preference. If people like what cards is about right now, then perfect. Like that's great for them. But there's only so much of this kind of style of gameplay that I find that entertains me before it grows tiresome for me. And the other problem is I've also like, you know, I've put like over 1,500 hours into cards at this point, and sure we had a new set in the form of we got a new set fairly recently in the form of Theaters of War, but like it wasn't really that major of an update. And so the first expansion, which is the only expansion that's been released so far, came out in December of last year. So it's like we've essentially been playing with the same set of cards for like the last 9 months. Sure, some buffs and nerfs and stuff have happened since then, which obviously are important and they have impacted the game, but it's just like, you know, that's the other thing. I've put in a lot of hours and we've been playing with the same cards for so long, so I'm just getting kind of... So a new set. So on top of the issues that I've just stated that I have, we've also just not had like a really significant expansion for a little while now too. So it's just like the play patterns are getting stale. I don't know. Do we just pass here? Like, what do we do? How does our hand beat that? Sure. If you got a Spirit of Rome deck that you want me to play on stream, I'd be happy to play it on stream. You just got to send me a list. I don't know what this deck wants. This is a user. This is a user submitted deck, so I'm just kind of playing the list as is. I don't even think I made that many changes to their list. I just took out some like random one-ofs and filled out like other cards that they were missing. Like they had a gecko and they had one gecko and one Seiran, so I changed it to 2 Seirans. They were missing a Takasagi regiment, so I put that in for like some other one of probably that they had. I'm not sure that any deck wants Outflank though. The card is like pretty narrow. Like, if this deck wants Outflank, it's probably a completely different deck. I was gonna say, why is he throwing away his bomber like that? That's not that big of a deal. Oh, right. Britain. They have a 1 mana pin everything that also cantrips. I agree. I've had a lot of fun with Japan, Italy decks in the past. We've played a couple of them on stream. Shelling? Go ahead, Shelling. Shelling so I can concede and move on to the next deck. Okay, great. So there's some of that fun quality interactive gameplay we were just talking about.